my tongue beneath itself, bleaching my language, clenching my jaw with shackled teeth, because the moment I open my mouth, uprising spring from my saliva, my dialogue is cruddy. Trample with the muddy boots of trade and migration, battling nations in my diaphragm, so the rhythm in my diction sounds like a war cry. And despite the white stuff down my windpipe, I talk black with nappy phonics, syllables that kink and twist, naughty expression that beads on my palate, so glow in this spit shine flow, Jerry curl jogging, bongo drums in my diction. This slang is semantic resistance, off with the head of the king's English. Can't you smell the riot on my breath? Char in my esophagus, my laugh is arsenic. And ain't enough opiates in this elementary education to hook me on phonics or gentrify the djembe out of my pronunciation. Love the taste of this cornbread accent. Sugar cane slang my tongue is. Motherland, mama of civilization, birth of every nation. Scat, boom, back, hi-hat, jazz, sax. There is music in my melanin and I be talking hella black. With a neck roll to articulate my tone. Conversations get you high as my cheekbones, and lingo bout lush as these hips done grown. Thick thighs and deep fried vernacular, hand motions and sound effects, hieroglyphics hidden in my messages. My breath is the building of the pyramids on repeat. I'm like a Negro spiritual sampled over a trap beat. There is a black anthem inside my belly, so I will always lift every voice and speak.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl, J. Rene. I hope that y'all are doing well. We welcome you back to The Black Effect. If this is your first time here, my name is J. Rene, and I am your host, but I am definitely not alone. I have someone with me, a beautiful lady right there, and let me tell you a little bit about her. Her name is Miss Francetta Mays. She is a native of Oklahoma City, and she is currently residing in Tulsa. She is the owner of Nordum's, I hope I said that right. Oh, In Your Dreams, excuse me, Broadcasting Publications and Events, LLC. She's a talk show host for Flipping the Script and a current NAACP presidential liaison for the Tulsa chapter number 6143. And she is also a pastor at the Going Hard for Christ Church, okay now, in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Miss Mays became very passionate regarding criminal reform in August of 2021 after hearing the story of Prentice Pons. I know Prentice, very good brother. A man serving life plus 25 years for a fist fight in his home. And since then, she has been relentless in her endeavors to now change the narrative for everyone through her work in the community and abroad. Miss Mays now uses her voice and platform to bring awareness and enlist the assistance of people, no matter the nationality or background. She dares to believe that each one can reach one, then affect the many lives of, and affect the lives of many. I want to make sure I get that right. Hi, Miss Mays.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Let me let the people know who I am. Again, my name is J. Rene, and I'm your host. I'm the lovely Miss Francetta Mays is also your host. And you might know me if you've been on this platform before. I do the news here on Friday. But this Friday night, we're on the 5th day of The Black Effect. We've been here all week, okay? Miss Mays, tell me what you thought about this week.
Listen, all I know is that it has been an answer to my prayers, because for me, coming into the criminal justice aspect of the prison, I come from a generation where if we saw you on the news, you were guilty.
Yes.
And the sad part is that that's a generational pattern and curse that gets passed on. And so when I start really looking into the Prentice Pons case, as you stated, I saw so many flaws in our judicial system. I felt so convicted. I literally cried for like 3 days just at that revelation that there was one one person that I knew of that was truly innocent in our judicial system. And then I found out that there was over 105,000 here in Oklahoma that are known innocent. And you can't help but want to be a voice for people whose voices have been silenced and they've been kidnapped by our system. So I'm trying to figure it out, but I'm so grateful to you, Jay Rene, for your experience. I'm grateful for the Plus Coalition that you all have literally not looked at the fact that I'm just seasoned and I'm
we
coming
need
in,
seasoning in our life.
you
What
look
you
at,
mean?
you think that you should know more, you should know better, but you guys have came in with the Similac bottle and have nurtured me and have really poured into me and loved on me. And I'm telling you, I'm so grateful that I get to walk into this this next season of my life as an activist with the support of people such as yourself, Kent, Maria, Brooke, and so many other, Yolanda, so many other wonderful people that are doing some great work.
Yes, we love to have you. We definitely embrace you. And when I got into activism, after I got in, and I'm like, man, where have I been? Why haven't I been doing this? But life has a way; it has to take you where you need to go, so we can do this work. So everything that you needed to be able to do this, it came together. So you're here now, and we definitely embrace you. So
Thank you.
I guess we can jump right into it. I guess we can do a recap of, this week. It's been an awesome week. We've talked about a lot of things. We talked about HIV yesterday. We talked about behavioral health. So far, which topic have you enjoyed the most or learned the most from?
Well, all three of them were near and dear to me. When we started out talking about the HIV, I actually had a young lady early when HIV first came out that was a cousin of mine. She was in her 20s, and we didn't have very much information, and I remember watching her go through that process. And when you watch someone suffer and then die from AIDS, and she didn't do it wrong, she did it right. Her boyfriend had been given a blood transfusion, and and they ended up, she ended up contracting AIDS from that. HIV is a killer. It's a killer, and we need more information so that we're mindful of how we need to start valuing ourselves with information and the checkups, so that we're being cognizant of the fact that this is something that once you pass it on is technically inconvenience, financially could be financially draining, and a death sentence all at the same time. She was explaining last night about the pill that I guess, with anything in life, you have to be able to afford it. I was also very excited when Gus started talking about mental health. Being a pastor, you deal with a lot of people with a lot of childhood wounds and a lot of mental health. And then we grow up and you get married and you marry them. We really don't process stuff.
Yes, ma'am.
We got to get healthy. This is not working. And I love the statistics. And I mean, it's just been the caliber. It's been on a collegiate basis. The caliber has been on such a professional basis of who has been speaking, the humble humility. Andrea, it's one of the two, I don't remember, but she was talking about the crack epidemic, and I was a part of that. I was a part of that, both in sales and consumer. And being on the other side of that here 35 years later, and understanding my testimony, but also being able to relate, as she was sharing about the well-known facts that people, just like being incarcerated, if you don't really pay attention to the incarceration rate or the people that are incarcerated, you don't think about it. And it's the same thing with the addictions and the post-traumatic stress. If it didn't affect you, you don't think about it. But that's what we've got to start doing. We've got to take the initiative to think. So I'm excited about our guest on tonight, but I also wanted to ask you, Since
Sure.
you've been doing this so long, what exactly did this week mean for you? Just to see the people that have been coming on and some of the topics. What were your favorite topics?
I always enjoy when people get together and we talk about something collectively that matters. And being in social media, meaning always on Facebook or Instagram, even though I'm mostly sharing, sometimes, I look through things too, and take a little off time from the work. And I see so many things that are misconceptions about our people and about how we interact with each other and stuff like that. So, one, having a platform where we could come together and show that we do have good minds about us, good wits about us, that we are intelligent, that we come from different walks of life is always something that's beautiful to me. The one of the shows that were my favorite, I want to say, is the first one where they talked about nationalism and getting our restitution, our money back, reparations and stuff like that. I think that's definitely a way to be done. And I think when we talk about nationalism, everyone has different ideas of what that is. And some people think it's really bad. Some people don't know. Some people think it's a great thing. And when I think about nation, I just think about my people just coming together collectively and having something. The Jewish have done it, the Chinese have done it, the Irish have their place, then the Italians have their. Why can't we have ours just because we're Black Americans? Why can't we have that? I don't see anything wrong with it. It's not against anybody else. It's just, having that same part of culture that is afforded to everyone else that wasn't born in America. So that was my favorite. But I think we should definitely go and get into these guests. I know they got a lot to say, and I'm definitely anticipating hearing from all of them.
Just hearing you go back and talk about your experience, this guest that I'm getting ready to introduce, I heard her for the first time on Plus presentation, and her name is Dr. Chinchila Jonesia.
Yeah.
And she is the founder and executive director of Right the Wrong Coalition, Voices for the Wrongfully Incarcerated, and Be a Voice Criminal Justice Reborn. She is an investigative reporter, a journalist, news anchor, TV and radio personality. She is also a proud member of the PABJ, the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists. She is the host of Cries of Innocence, From Behind Prison Walls, Nightmares, Behind Prison Walls, Voices of Change, Mic Test Live at 5, and News Forum with Chinchilla J, relentlessly rebirthing this criminal injustice system, one city at a time, fighting to end wrongful convictions, and advocating for the wrongfully incarcerated, exonerees, and their families countrywide. Chinchilla is the founder. Okay, I'm getting ready to repeat that, and we don't want to do that. Right now, we're going to welcome Dr. Chinchila Jonesia to the show. You guys help me to welcome her. You're just in for a treat.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Hi, I am Chinchila Jonesia, and thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm excited to be a part of this panel. And I am here tonight, and there are two men that's also on the panel tonight, and I am first. So this is, I guess, pretty awesome. Now, my topic tonight that I have been given is Black mothers and Black queens. Huh. Wow. We as women, first of all, Black women, there's so much to say about us, about our history of being Black women. If we look back in the biblical days, we can see our rich history, how it started then. There were Black queens, Black judges in the Bible during biblical times. However, some people, they want to contradict that. They want to say it was not, okay? But biblical times, they were Black. Hebrews, Israelites, in those countries, the sun was very prevalent, okay? So in those countries during biblical times, yes, people were my complexion. Some were even darker. Some were a little lighter, depending on the area that they lived in. But they were all people of color. So we have a very rich history being Black women. And here's the thing, people. Today, it is so very sad because the Black woman, the Black mothers today, now I'm talking about today, in today's generation, in the 20s, it's so different than it was when I was growing up. I grew up, my mom was a Black mother, okay? And she was definitely a Black queen. I grew up in a single family home. However, my mom and dad, they were married, and then they separated. And my mom raised my brother and I on her own. She did a heck of a great job, okay? And she worked hard to provide for us, and she was very determined. And I'm going to use my mom as an example with her determination, her drive, her motivation. And what kept her going was her children, being a Black mother, a single Black mother, but had a husband that wasn't there, okay? She had so much motivation, and it came from within because she literally had no one at all to actually motivate her, to push her into her greatness. She did it on her own with the help of God, with the help of prayer and fasting. That's what she did. And my mother worked. I mean, she worked her butt off to provide for us. And we always saw ourselves as being wealthy and having more than others had in our neighborhood and or our street. And we had no idea that my mom was struggling so much, because to us, it wasn't a struggle for her. We didn't see it as that because we had everything we didn't want for anything. And she put her children first. We were her top priority. And so I'm saying that to say to the mothers today, you have to get back to the way it was when I grew up. Okay, I will be 59 in August 12th. And we have to get back to the way the mothers were when I was a child, and the way mothers were when I raised my children. Because guess what? Our children were our top priority. We made sure they had what they needed. We provided support. We nurtured them. We cared for them. We encouraged them and motivated them. My mother encouraged me. She encouraged me to be great. She motivated me. And she didn't have to really do it that much because look at here. I looked at her and what she did and how she behaved and the things that she accomplished. And by looking at her as my role model, it made me want to be like her. And so she didn't really have to do much as way as motivating me and encouraging me verbally, because I looked at what she did. And this is what children look at mothers. They look at you. They look at what you do. They look at how you behave. And sometimes parents will tell their children not to do certain things, not to say certain things, not to behave in certain manners. But guess what, mothers? If you're telling your children what not to do, but yet you're doing those things, you're talking to a wall then, okay? Because it doesn't matter what you say. It's all about what you do. So children learn by visuals, by seeing, and they learn their atmosphere and what is brought into their atmosphere. And as a mother, we have to, well, I'm not going to say we because my children are all grown, but as a mother, those of you that are listening that are raising children today, You have to be so very careful about who you bring into your homes. Too many of you mothers out there, you're bringing Johnny, you're bringing David, you're bringing Henry and Michael and all kinds of men into your household. And you're in relationship after relationship after relationship. That's not an environment that you want your children to be under, because guess what? When your daughters grow up, they're going to model after that. And there's no stability in that. So it's better to not even have a relationship than to have all of these different ones and seeing your children looking at this. It's not right. Some of y'all might get mad about what I'm saying tonight, but it's okay, because it needs to be said. Because today, the Black mothers have gotten away from motherhood. Motherhood is something beautiful. And when we can raise our children to be motivated, to be compassionate, to be caring and kind, it says a lot. And they're going to look at you. If you're not caring and compassionate, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to grow up to be that way. But then we have the exception where some children look at their mother and they say, wow, I don't want to be anything like that. So they try their hardest not to be like that. But it's so important, women, as Black mothers, we have to instill in our children dignity, especially the girls. We have to show them how to be graceful, how to be respectful, how to be poised and walk in integrity. And today, it just really saddens me as I look at today's generation and I see how times have really changed, okay? Because today, all we see is mothers, the younger mothers today, and so I'm talking about the ones in their 20s, even the ones in their 30s, even some in their 40s. Today, they're out there, they're twerking, they're letting it all hang out, like exposing themselves and up on Facebook and social media, you know, with their butts out and twerking on live to get views. There's nothing sexy about that, ladies. Okay, you can dress in modest apparel and still be sexy, okay, without having your boobs hanging out and your butts hanging out, okay? There's nothing sexy about that. And that is not going to attract a husband. It will attract a quick sex partner, but not a husband, okay? And women, you should be striving to be a wife to someone, that you can be a queen to a king and not a whore to a pimp, okay? Because some of these guys today, they're just like pimps, okay? And you say, well, my boyfriend's not a pimp. Well, he might as well be, because some of you have them living in your homes because you just want a man there. That's not the way to be a queen. You'll never be a queen that way. So you have to get it together. The mindsets of the women today have to change, because Black women, Black mothers should be Black queens. You know, we should be a queen. And it's easy to be a queen because, see, queens have always been graceful. They've been poised. They are dignified. And that's how we should be as Black women. And some Black women might say, well, I don't have no role model. I never had one. Well, we have a lot of role models. And I can name some role models all the way back from slavery days, you know, from Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Rosa Parks, and I can go on and name so many. But I don't even have to go way back there, because today we have a lot of Black women that you younger women today, you can look up to. Look up to these Black queens. Like right now, we have one that is has been nominated to become a Supreme Court justice. Now, this week, she has undergone scrutiny. She has undergone ridicule and all kinds of negativity from her counterparts and from the Republican Party, you know, the racist ones. And I look at her. She is a woman filled with dignity, poise, grace, and the whole nine. And she is a perfect role model for Black mothers today because she is a mother. And look at what she has accomplished in her life. Okay, she is a United States circuit court judge, and so many other things that she has under her belt. And she is a perfect role model. And the way she has handled herself this week, nothing but grace. She didn't blow off the handle. She didn't use profanity. She didn't get upset and angry. She held herself, composure, and she gave her answers to some of these questions that were just basic nonsense. But she answered them. And the way she answered them, she put all of them in their place, and she was right on point. Now, looking at what she went through this week, this is the same type of thing that Black women, Black mothers, Black queens go through their entire life, with having to try to prove themselves to our counterparts, to have to answer questions when we're questioned as to motives and, so many other things. And they're thinking that, oh, we're not good enough to join them at their tables. Well, I'm here to tell you tonight, Black mothers, you're good enough to join any table if you put your mind to it, if you present yourself in a way that you should sit at that table. Guess what? You should. But some of you, there's so many changes you have to make in your life to make yourself presentable to be sitting at certain tables in certain environments. But this is how society wants us to think, that we're not good enough. But we are definitely good enough to sit anywhere, to be amongst the prestigious, to be amongst all of the ones that think they're so great. Guess what? We're great. We're even greater than they are. But you have to tap into your greatness and begin to look at the rich history of the Black woman. Okay, we can look in history right now. Right now in this country, there are 84 Black women state senators in the country that we live in now, this racist country. 84. Is that enough? Heck no. But guess what? 84 of us are there, ladies. Okay, 84 of us. Then we also have 28 Black women in Congress, in the House, 28 of us. All right. So that's something to be proud of. And then not only that, the mayors that we have in this country, we have some awesome Black female mayors around this country. We can look at Muriel Bowser, the mayor of Washington, D.C., how she handled herself during the whole George Floyd protest and all that stuff. She handled herself well. We can look at Keisha Lance Bottoms, the mayor of Atlanta during the George Floyd protests, handled herself well with dignity and pride. And then we have Lori Lightfoot in Chicago. These are women that are running major cities. And then not only them, okay, we have more. We have, I think now 9 different Black women mayors that are running major cities. And we just had, what is her name? Tashara Jones, who was just elected. And guess where? In Boston, for heaven's sakes, okay? That's another state that it was filled with racism, still is, but guess what? She's there. And then we also not only have her, we have another lady that won an election this year too. Well, actually, she was appointed because of a vacancy, but she's running, okay, to take a second term. And her name is Ken Janey. And these are women we can be proud of. And then there's so many others, and I'm not going to take time to name them all, but you all can do the research. Look at where we have come, ladies, how far we've come. But then we still have a long way to go to really take our rightful places in society. Because guess what? Right now, since Kamala Harris has left the Senate because she's now the Vice President of the United States of America. That's another thing that we can be proud of. But Kamala Harris, she doesn't really identify herself as being Black. But anyway, she looks like me, okay? And she left the Senate to take that nomination for vice presidency. And, so she's vice president. And now that leaves no more Black women in the Senate, okay? None. So we need some more Black women in the United States Senate. We have 84, okay, state senators, but we need some in the U.S. Senate. And that's what we have to strive for now. We have a lady, Tish James, who is New York's first Black Attorney General. Okay. And the list goes on. And I just encourage you women that are watching and men to do some history. Look up Black politicians, females, and see how many they are. How many Black women are in the bar? Oh my God, so many. We have done a lot. We have accomplished a lot with so much opposition, but yet we still rise. That makes me think of Maya Angelou. I rise. Hey, we rise above obstacles that are put before us each and every day. Just going to work. Some of you go through so much on your jobs where you're overlooked for positions and you're training people and not knowing you're training them for your position. It's crazy. Or training them to be put as your supervisor. It's so crazy. But these are the things we have to deal with. But we are definitely queens. We're queens above all things. We are queens, and we definitely have to get back to the way it was in the days of old, where our Black mothers were mothers, and they put their children first. That was their number one priority. And, it's so much other things I wanted to say, but don't have time to talk about the actual family unit in the home and how mothers became the breadwinners in the home. That's a whole session in itself. But I hope that you got something out of this, because we have to realize that we are women of color, Black women. God has made us fearfully. He's made us wonderfully. And we have to realize that and know who we are. I know who I am. Do you know who you are? Rise above every situation. Go through it with dignity. I know it can get hard sometimes with the emotional things flaring up and so much mental, emotional, psychological abuse, some of you physical abuse, sexual abuse. But guess what? Prayer and fasting can change a lot of things in your lives. So be encouraged, Black mothers. Be encouraged, Black queens. You are a queen. Yes, you are. And I am also a Black mother and a Black queen. I'm Chinchila Jonesia, everybody. And I hope you got something out of this message today, Black mothers and Black queens.
Oh, Miss Jonesia. Now that's how you drop something down right there. That was a lot of knowledge that came out. And like she said, it might be some people that's not ready for that message, but she told you a whole lot that you definitely should tap into. Okay. I appreciate you so much, Doctor, for sharing that with us. Being out here, like I was saying, out in social media, the things that I read, how they feel, and the things that are being said to the Black woman to put her down is definitely beating on her. But the things that you said, even though they might can't receive it now, is definitely upliftment to help them become better people. Help us all become better people where we fall short. So I definitely thank you for that. So right into our next guest. Give me one moment and I will be able to share with you. This is a gentleman, okay? And I think we're going to really like what he has to talk about. Let me see here. The internet always wants to do its own thing when you need it to be hurried. So you got to get patience. You got to have that patience with the little things that'll help you with the big things. All right. So our next guest, is Mr. George P. Brooks. Okay. Black kings and black fathers will be his subject. Around age 9, he noticed that he didn't process thoughts and ideas the same way that his peers did. He was labeled as overly emotional. He knew that mental illness was a thing even at that young age. However, the level of ignorance and unawareness, especially in the Black community, made things more difficult throughout his favorite years. His worst year was 2 years ago. He was in the wrong place and surrounded by the wrong people. He was literally dying and wasting away, but thankfully, members of his family and his loved ones were able to help him in recovery. He knew he had to clean up, and he knew that he needed to clean up his mental and emotional diet. Please excuse me. All right, there were days of watching the news and morbid shows and associating with the wrong crowd. He now found out the world by venturing into it. Please excuse me. All right, he relocated to Memphis. He relocated from Memphis to Dallas, which is arguably the greatest thing he ever did for himself. He overcome self-doubt, disloyalty, and being obsessed with his condition and the fear of making that one huge step toward healing and recovery. He continues to pursue his goals and establish positive, beneficial relationships with those from his past. He's learned that he's not perfect and that there are some unpleasant moments, but he's also learned to be humble and to listen. Okay, isn't that important? He is continuing to learn to adapt to the ebbs and flows of his family and his friends in order to live a productive, loving, and happy life. All right, he wants to stay on the path to wellness by participating in therapy and remaining, oh, you got me on these words, remaining medically compliant. I say he wanna make sure he good by himself. That's what that means. All right. He volunteers with the homeless and the mentally ill through an association. I'll let him give you that address. And he is also active in his church. Mainly, he wants everyone to know that he has a long-term plan for his family and himself. Okay. He just goes one day at a time and moment by moment. I introduce him to you.
My name is George Brooks. I'll be speaking to you all this evening some of my thoughts in regards to Black manhood and fatherhood. Thank you for the introduction. I do have a nonprofit called Meta Association, which is birthed from a lot of these philosophies and things that I'm going to speak about this evening. So in terms of Black manhood, the first thing that we typically encounter is what the definition of manhood is. That is something that you can ask a million people and you won't get two answers. It's very subjective. But at its core, the belief of manhood or the tenets of manhood are responsibility, accountability, and to lead. That's what I feel. And I feel as though in the Black community, we have lost our way. But in also many regards, our way was taken away from us. Throughout slavery, one of the first things that they did was to separate the family, especially in regards to the men. If you remove the man from the family, you're going to have something, well, it made it easier for them to enslave us. So one thing that we have to understand is that we've lost a sense of manhood. Some of us have it, but as a core, as a whole, I feel as though it's been diminished. And the reason is that oftentimes we allow our manhood to be defined by other people instead of seeking within ourselves to find out who we are. We spend too much time gazing into the eyes of others to define ourselves. So what we must do is to take some time as far as men and do some individual introspection to help determine for ourselves the path that we should walk upon. And I feel that through that process, what we can also establish is a sense of brotherhood in the Black community that has always been there, but on a greater scale has been lost. I've seen instances where there should have been more harmonious discourse with my brothers, and it has basically degenerated down to insults. So there's not a sense of brotherhood. There's not a sense of tribal culture. There's not a sense of community. Without those, you don't have a foundation in order for certain roles in the community and for manhood and fatherhood to truly burgeon and be productive and be conducive to improving our people. So one way that having that lost sense of manhood can affect us and has affected us as Black men has been in several areas, mainly in terms of our economic standing. People don't understand how what you do mentally as a man, as far as your self-esteem, what your perceived role is, can affect you. So one suggestion that I think that, well, several suggestions that I have in mind as far as how to improve that. For one, we have to address our mental health. We as Black men have been traumatized racially. We deal with certain circumstances that no other demographic deals with. We constantly feel attacked because oftentimes we are. And we have to really deal with our mental health and our trauma. And one area that is important is in dealing with our fathers. In my experience, many of my contemporaries have father issues themselves. And we have to learn to resolve that and deal with that in order to heal ourselves so that we can go ahead and pass on beneficial traits to our children and our communities. So I urge people to, and I urge my brothers to explore those feelings, because I know so many that have them, that have had a bad father or absent father. And with that, you gain a sense of what you should do when you become a father. And we have to act upon that. Many of us know what it's like to not have a father present or to have a poor father. In that, we have a desire to be better fathers, but we just don't know how. Part of that entails dealing with your mental health, dealing with your emotional health, having coping skills, being real with yourself and about what's going on. And once you improve yourself and maximize yourself and have a purpose, then what you can do, you can pass it on to your children and your loved ones. So one remedy that we don't have in our culture is the rite of passage. If you look back in our history, back in Africa, we had rites of passages, we had ceremonies. One example is in Japan during the samurai culture, during the samurai days, they had a rite of passage called Genpuku. What would happen was once a boy became 15, he would change his name, he would change his dress, he would be given adult responsibilities. That would serve as a rite of passage. So I urge people to try to establish, even within your own family, certain rites of passage that you can instill and create new traditions as far as raising your son. With my children, I have certain rites of passage that we have developed, and it is beneficial. And also having a clear sense of what is going to be appropriate for them to be successful. And that's having a sense of manhood. And that comes with having a purpose. Once I discovered my purpose, I was able to go ahead and realize that I was living with a flawed sense of manhood. And once you can establish that, then you open yourself up. And another aspect of establishing, though, that brotherly bond in our community and realizing our purpose and in becoming better fathers and better men, we will reap the benefits of that. We have to look at our investment in ourselves and communities as sowing a seed. We have many issues to deal with. One is it will help us economically. Once we are healthier and we do the work, we're in better shape to become an economic power. We as Black people have tremendous economic power. However, we don't utilize it. We don't use it to give ourselves a voice. So that's why we often find ourselves in more or less competition with other races to get rights. There was an Asian crime bill that was passed pretty quickly. And I don't see why we can't not get to a point where we can pass legislation, where we can advocate for ourselves. But we have to do that ourselves. And that, I believe that begins with men. I believe that men are the leaders, women are the nurturers. If that offends people, I'm sorry, but that's how I feel. But we have to have a sense of purpose. And those of us that do have it figured out, those of us that are on the right path, so to speak, we must reach back to those of us who are lost, who maybe don't have a way, and help them. Just because what we're experiencing right now in this generation is no structure with our young people. They have structure, but it's flawed. We have a diminishing economic base in our community. We don't have that sense of community anymore, and it's killing us economically. But I say all that to say this. Once we as Black men start to heal ourselves, not only must we relate to our children, we must also help our women, because through a myriad of factors, we have let them down. Some of us have let them down. We have failed ourselves. We have let them down to where they have had oftentimes to fill our roles, and that's wrong. We owe the women in our lives, the mothers, the sisters, the daughters, to be our best selves for them. We are meant to be the leaders. We are meant to be the protectors, not to hold dominion, not to dominate, but to protect. That's why it's so important and so integral that we do whatever we can to heal ourselves, because these are literally life and death situations. We're seeing the state of the world. We're seeing our place in it become less and less. We're seeing our voices get less and less. And we oftentimes confuse activity on social media as activism. We confuse views and posts as having done something, and that's simply not the case. It's time for us to heal ourselves, disengage, get out into the world, and actually affect change and affect our communities. And to me, once you do that, no matter the level, whatever scope works for you, that's the definition of being a king, is being accountable, is being responsible. You don't, it's not about attaining things. It's not about status. It's about having a true core sense of self to where you look in the mirror, you know who you are. And to me, that's the definition of manhood. And that's what we should try to pass down to our children and show to society and to the world. So in terms of dealing with our relationships with women, we have to understand something, that we have to deal with our trauma. And that's a difficult thing because people misconstrue that as being weak. It's not weakness. You're dealing with pain. You are to use your pain to heal others. With that pain still on you, you will have things like addiction. You will have instability, emotional instability, residential instability. So many of our problems in our community can be linked back to mental illness and the lack of purpose in a man's life. And I don't believe that there's one leader. I don't believe there's one way. What I speak about are different ways, are different methods. Find your own way. Test your faith. Question things. Find out for yourself what works for you. Find your true purpose. Not the thing that you feel like is going to make you money. Not necessarily the thing that you want to do, but find out what it is that you are meant to do. And also, don't be closed off to spirituality. So many of us Black men, we become bitter. We become angry. Some reasons are justified, but oftentimes we close off ourselves spiritually. Whether you believe in God, whether you believe in nothing, a spiritual aspect, a spiritual component is important to living a good life, to living a positive life, to living a conducive life, a life conducive to prosperity. And that's one of the things as men that we should really try to focus on. I feel that we should collaborate more. We should have venues. We should come together. We should settle disputes as men with class, with dignity. We should learn to agree to disagree. Basically, we need to find a sense of decorum, address each other with respect. With that, the world will notice, and we will notice that we will improve individually. And one thing also is that with that, once we do that, we're in a position to lead, but we must follow it first. Sometimes to be the shepherd, you must be the sheep. So we have to be open to things like therapy. We have to be open to things like discussions. We have to be open to having those hard conversations with ourselves in the mirror first, with women, with our children, and also with other races. Because the only way to progress, the only way to get us to that kingdom that we deserve, that we are entitled to, that was taken from us, is to heal ourselves, is to stand up. And that's a long process. So the thing is about it is that you have to get up and do something. We oftentimes sit and we'll plan and we'll talk, but taking that action is what's going to really go ahead and fortify what we're trying to do. So my nonprofit Meta Association focuses on Black men and mental health. We focus on recidivism. That's also a segment of our society of Black men and Black women that we need to deal with, because oftentimes in our state, sometimes through our own fault, sometimes through the faults of others, we find ourselves involved in the system. And when we come out of that system, we are not given the tools to be successful. We are expected to come out and flourish and prosper. But how can you prosper when you don't have the boots to pull yourself up from? And but what I basically am saying is that we need a path to get back to that kingdom. We are kings, but we need a path to get back there. We have to figure out a way to unite, to come together, and that means supporting those of us that are doing the work. That means avoiding pettiness. That means having a sense of integrity. That means having patience. And with that, not only will we prosper in terms of our personal lives and socially, but economically. And we will also see our status raised in the world, where we can also help other races. We can help future generations. We can help other countries. We can expand ourselves and become a power and have a voice to where we can ensure a proper future for our children.
Mr. Brooks, you've just completely blown my mind. Just encompassing all of the information that you've shared, even the recommendations of something like establishing rites of passage. This is what I'm talking about, is that the dialogue that we have to start now is not just planning, but teaching people how we move forward. So thank you very much for that. I know that we have people that will be asking questions toward the end. So again, thank you so much for that. Our next guest that we have is Frederick Cooper. He is a motivational speaker, a motivational speaker, financial literacy activator, restorative justice coordinator, and a parenting fatherhood coach. Growing up in a single family home taught him the importance of a father's presence in a child's life. He has devoted his life to traveling around Chicago and working closely with Cook County Jail to speak to young men who are in the criminal justice system. He also assisted his young daughter in becoming an entrepreneur, who is the founder and owner of a t-shirt company. Frederick believes youth are our future leaders of tomorrow. I couldn't agree more. Let's welcome our next guest, Frederick Cooper, to the Plus Coalition Black.
I want to thank you all for having me on here. It's an honor. And I do want to talk about the Black youth versus the system, but I also, before I do that, I want to give you a background on myself and why I got into this. In the beginning of my life, it was just me, my brother, and my mother. And we were always raised on the south side of Chicago. And she was a single mother. And so my brother had gotten to the streets very early. And that's who I looked up to. And so as him getting into the streets, we got into drug dealing, into gangs and things like that. But I admired it because I've always looked up to him. He came in the house, big wads of money. And that's the things that and people in my neighborhood always looked up to, the guys with the money, the nice cars, the nice jewelry. So by me looking up to him, I took after his footsteps and I got into it as well. And so by me getting into it, you know, a lot of things that happened with me and my brother, you know, excuse me, and just all the hate started going in our neighborhood because it's always who make the most money. You can't hang on this block. You can't do this. So with all that going on, my brother ended up getting shot 5 times. And so when that happened, now I got revenge in my mind. I want to go out here. I want to get back to those people. But I realized one thing while we was in the streets. I've always known God through my grandmother. She always told me that God is the head of my life. So I always believed that. And so when I got out there, and then what happened to me is same thing what happened to my brother. He got shot 5 times. I ended up getting shot 10 times. And so after I got shot and everything, I gave my life back to God, got baptized, and I was watching this thing called Chicagoland, and there was a thing on there called restorative justice. And as I was paying attention to it, I just love this concept of how all these people from community would get into this circle and talk about things and nobody was being judged. And I said, oh man, this is great. This is something that I wanted to do. And so I got into that. I got trained to do it. I love the training. And so I ended up volunteering for a school on the west side of Chicago, Collins High School. And every time I would go in there and do this, the kids would just love it. They fell in love with doing circles. Every circles, they just love it because one thing about circles, just never judged them. I never judged and just let them talk freely. And I built great relationships with them, great trust. And once I did that, a lady came in and said, you know, you might want to take this to the Cook County Jail. And in my mind, I was thinking like, I don't know if I want to go to Cook County Jail. But when I got in Cook County Jail, I realized that taking restorative justice to Cook County Jail was one of the best moves I made in my life because it gave those guys a voice to speak on some of the things they were doing. And what I realized as I was doing these circles in Cook County Jail is I said, these are some good brothers that just made some mistakes, never judged them. And when I first went in there to do it, I went on deck and I said, hey guys, it's up to you guys if you want to do it. So it was 40 guys on deck, 7 joined. And the 7, they enjoyed it. We went over it after week, and we was just building with each other. And then the next cohort I came in, it was 45 guys in one room. And I said, no, this ain't going to work. And so I knew I was reaching these guys. And so I started going in there more than once a week. I started going twice a week. And so I said to myself, I got to add something else, another component to these guys because they're great guys, but I got to add another component and see what it is. So I ended up taking the financial literacy course. And once I took this financial literacy course, I knew it then. I said, this is what I need to take also into this county jail, because if we can get some of these guys to understand how to get their credit together and start how to use credit, bank accounts, and learning these things, maybe if they get these things together, they're not so quick to commit the crimes. And so what I seen is when guys was coming home, they was calling me, oh, Fred, man, I need to get with you, blah, 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 blah. I need to do this, do that. And so I started helping these guys get their first bank accounts, their first credit cards. And I seen how they were steady moving forward with their life moving forward. But also what I seen in Cook County Jail is how bringing this restorative justice and this financial literacy to this place, that everybody, we talk about how do we stop crime and how do we do this. I found out this is one of the ways. If these guys get themselves together with financially, and they get their credit together, they're not so quick to go out here and commit these crimes that they were used to doing, because now they have something to look forward to. I don't want to mess my credit up. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And so now when I went in there, I started adding even more resources. Hey, I started reaching out to a lot of a lot of places that will hire guys with backgrounds. I said, man, let me try to get some jobs in here. Let me try to get this. And so what I seen with our system is they call it a correctional facility. But what I was looking in there, it wasn't a lot of things in there to correct the behavior. You know, just you did this, it's time to be punished. And so I wanted to take this thing further. And what happened in Chicago was they built these things we call the RJCC, the Restorative Justice Community Courts. And also I became the lead circle keeper in the one in the Inglewood community. And what that is we sit in circle. A person might be a first time case for as like a felony. And what we would do, we would sit in circle. We would break bread, say, hey, bring whoever you want to bring in this circle. Bring your mother, your father, your girlfriend, your baby mother. Bring gang now. Bring whoever you want to bring in here, and let's build with each other. And we're gonna bring some community members, and we're gonna try to help you as much as we can. And the goal was, and at this Restorative Justice Community Court is, we're not looking for a conviction. The main goal is to help you get your case dismissed. So with that being said, we created what we call the repair harm agreement, which means that it's the repair harm agreement, which means you have to do certain things for us. Go get your GED, go back to school. Guys, well, take a financial literacy class. Do some community engagement to know your community better. And when they would complete those things, their cases would be dismissed. And so things like I say, when I was going to these places, the county jail, the restorative justice courts, I also said, hey, I got to help my younger guys. So I also took it to the juvenile detention center. Now, the juvenile detention center was a little more difficult because now I'm dealing with a younger age bracket. So when I came in there to do some circles, they was like, oh, no, we don't talk about this dude where he the police. And I was like, it just was kind of funny to me. I was just like, hey, one thing I always told them, the same thing I told the guys on 26 in California, hey, it's voluntary. You don't have to do it. So but when some came through, some of the young guys came through, sat in these circles, and we was just breaking bread with each other. I was seeing guys shed tears because one young man had told me, he said, man, I've never had nobody to listen to me like you do. I never had this. And I've heard that several times in these jails. I've never had that voice because on the south side of Chicago, on this west side, a lot of us in our community like that father, that presence. We never had it. We wasn't raised with our fathers. And so I was just coming in as a person to just listen and just give advice and say, hey, we can do this. Or, hey, we got this financial literacy class. Why don't you build on yourself with this? And so even though I added the restorative justice, now I got the financial literacy. What else do I need to add to help my guys? I went into the fatherhood class. So I wanted to take this fatherhood class to show them that now we got to give our kids what we didn't have. And so a lot of the guys come to the fatherhood class and they was just loving it. We talked about, getting along with the other parent, if we with them or not with them, how do we get along? How do we work on communication? How do we sit down and have those conversations with our child's mother? How do we not talk that bad language in front of the kid? How do we continue to have that relationship even if we are not in the home? And so when I did the fatherhood and I brought that component, it was just I'm just seeing so much progress. I'm seeing guys that they was just loving what we was doing. And so now you got the financial literacy, you got the resources, we got the fatherhood. And so we added all these components and we was just seeing so much progress with our guys. And so one of the things, even when I went to talk to some certain sheriffs, I always would tell them, like, I don't want y'all in a room with our guys when we having our sessions. And they would say, why? I say, because I want them to feel confident and comfortable in everything they saying. And I don't want y'all sitting there watching them and judging them and making them feel like they don't want to say what they really need to say. And so I've done this for over 7 years in Cook County Jail. I've done several restorative justice trainings myself because I wanted to take the knowledge that I've learned and I occurred over the years and give it back to different communities. And so with the trainings, what I was seeing is now is being reached in more areas. Restorative justice is going all worldwide, and we having a big restorative justice conference out here in Chicago in June. And so my main goal when I look at the Black youth versus the system is, it's like, was this system built to help us? Because it say correctional facility, or was it built to punish us? And so when I looked at the restorative justice side of this, I said, hey, I love this side because it's not taking that punitive approach. Because yes, you have done something wrong, but how do we go deeper and see, why are you doing something wrong? What is it? Is it because you suffer from PTSD? Is it because you're saying you need all this trauma that's been in your life? Do you need therapy in this? And that's the things that I was getting as I'm sitting with our young fellas in this group, because now they're saying, hey, my brother got killed. I mean, I had to have a gun, because if I didn't have it, I might have been next. And so now I understand, not excusing it, but I understand it. And that's the main thing about circles. It's not judging and trying to understand and coming to a consensus of, hey, we might not agree with each other, but let's understand each other. And so when you have a person who's always been judged all his life, walked in front of a judge is judging. Every step of the way, he's been judged by his neighborhood. He's been judged by his family. He's been judged by everybody. But now he comes to me and say, hey, I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to say what you did was right. I'm not here to say what you did was wrong. I'm here to understand you better. And so I realized that now. I said, for as our youth, let me show, I went even further, even like in the intro when she said, hey, I showed my daughter how to do a clothing line. Now, a lot of our guys, I always told them, you guys are the trendsetters. Let's start building. So what we did is a lot of the guys would come to me and say, I want to start my own clothing line. Okay, let's sit down. Let me show you how to do your domain. Let me show you how to run ads. Let me show you how to structure your business. Let me show you how to start your own LLC. Let me show you how, if you're trying to get into construction, let me show you how to go after some grants. Now, and also, let me show you in this financial literacy how to save money. Let me show you how important insurance is for your family. Let me show you how to take this generational curse away and start building generational wealth. And it's just been such a blessing for our community to see how young Black brothers can actually do great things. And I was also telling them, like I would say, hey, we got to get insurance on ourselves, guys. And they would say, oh, man, Fred, I can't afford that. I said, yes, you can. Yes, you can. You got a pair of Jordans on. I see that. So if you can afford this, you can afford insurance on your life. And then we got to show our kids how to do this. And so I've been working in a lot of our communities and working with a lot of community organizations, providing financial literacy, providing fatherhood, to show the importance of a father and showing the importance of a father and being in a person's life, because it's very, very, very critical, because a lot of our youth suffers from that. And another thing I want to continue to do is just show them how to continue to build your own business. And when you do that, I always will tell everybody in the group, the goal is for you to help somebody else. I always would say, man, promise me you will help one other person. And then when you help that person, tell them they have to help one other person, because just don't get something and not spread it. And so when we look at this system has been built for a long time. They're going to continue to do things the way they see fit. And so when I came in, I just said, hey, I've got to bring something in that's different, because we're seeing what's been built really is not working. Let me see something different. And so when I came in with this restorative justice, it really opens a lot of doors for the guys in there. And it gives them that voice that they really never had. And so I wanted to keep building this thing. And so I had built a curriculum with my restorative justice, because when I first came into the county, I got a talking piece. I'm talking about values and guidelines, and I got my centerpiece laid out. The guys are looking like, what the heck is this voodoo stuff? And so I just said, come on in, y'all. Come on. Let me just show y'all something new, because one thing in our neighborhood, I realized a lot of the guys was not used to something new. They was just used to what they were used to. And I said, come on, just let me show you something different. And they would come in They would sit down and they would just vibe. I seen a lot of tears. I seen a lot of tears in there. We shared a lot of laughs. We shared a lot of joy, doing a lot of icebreakers and just breaking the ice with each other and just saying, hey, brother, I'm not here to judge. Let's talk about this. Guys would talk about their cases. Man, Fred, I did it because of this. I ain't going to lie to you, bro. This is what happened. And they would just lay it out. And I'm just like, listen, I'm glad that you are that comfortable to talk to me about this. You could talk to me about this. And I always wanted to be that voice, but be that voice to always say, hey, even when I would go in there some days and say, they would say, hey, the guy's on lockdown. And I'm like, oh, what does that mean? Well, they can't come out right now. And maybe you can come back next week. So I had to have that conversation and say, hey, I understand what they done and everything, but this is why we're here. This is why I'm here. This is why I'm here. Let's talk about why that fight happened. Let's talk about what happened. Let's get this out. Because if you just keep saying lockdown, 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 what is that doing? And so the goal, one of the main goals it was for me is to just never judge and always try my best to understand. And so what we would do is we would do a lot of icebreakers, have a lot of fun. Some days I would just go in there and just do icebreakers with them, just have fun. And just trying to get them to see that, hey, when you do this, hey, do these same things when you go back, when you go home. Sit in family circles. Do the same thing with your kids. Do the same thing with your family. And that's how we can build, because we are letting everybody have that voice that wasn't never heard. And so it was just building. And I love the work that I do. And I just keep bringing other guys in to show them, hey, let's continue to build this thing. And also, with the fatherhood, just showing the importance that, man, you got to be there for your own, and you got to continue to raise your kids the right way. And I just love it, and I want to continue to do this work. I thank you all for listening to me.
Right?
Listen, Mr. Cooper, thank you so much for the contribution that I'm going to go back and listen to this, because I was trying to write notes and you were spitting out so much stuff that I couldn't even keep up. We've got to connect, sir. You have
Yes, ma'am.
something called a masterpiece plan.
Yes,
And I
ma'am.
thank you for sharing that.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
thank
Thank
all
you.
of our guests actually tonight.
I was thinking the same thing. You know, our youth is very, very important. And every time, you know, we have a generation, we have the ability to reset. You know, we can get out all the kinks and all of that and instill a lot of great things. So, you know, the fact that y'all were speaking to the youth directly is a beautiful thing. And we definitely got to make sure we cultivate them.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So I believe it is question and answer time. Are there any questions? You can please put them down inside of our comment section and we will make sure that they get addressed. If you haven't added us already, please make sure to add this platform so you can, you know, get our other seminars and come and see our shows that we have and things like that available through, you know, the Plus Coalition. Let's see if we have any questions. Don't be shy, y'all.
Well, I'm going to just make a statement then, since no one's asking any questions. You know, Dr. Chinchila, I love these level of platforms because we get to, you know, really be open, honest, and share. And I believe that this gives us an opportunity, because the irony is you and I both are the same age. And when I look at the, you know, I was listening to your story, and as I was listening to you, I was reflecting back on even my life, my relationship with my mother, the dynamics of my household, and the outcome of the decisions that had to be made over the course of my life, because I did not have the dynamics of a two-parent or parents at all. The rejection was there. The molestation was there. You know, there were dynamics to my life that propelled me into a lifestyle which was making decisions that a lot of the people that are incarcerated right now, I was one decision from being there. And, you know, and so when I listened to the direct parallel of your life, my life, and seeing where we are, I love that the big picture, I tell people about this, is that, you know, God has already established the parameters of this world and the systems of it. We just have to be in place to, you know, be a part of the puzzle. So now that I'm connected to Plus, this part that I'm connected to, now there's another piece that's connected to you, and that fullness and completeness that you have, having the nurtured, you know, family life, and I can glean from that. And that's what I love about us being able to share and show wounds and being transparent, because we've got to be accountable and own, and we've got to let them know, these generations coming up behind us, hey, there's a lot of generational curses and patterns out here. We just got to be the change breakers and say, hey, yes, this is my truth, but guess what? I'm going to work past this.
Right. And do something.
Very true. I was listening to Dr. Jonesia. Am I saying that right? I was listening to you, and I was just like, wait a minute. I was trying to talk for about 5 minutes. Well, when you came in and I was listening to you, I was just like, whoa. It was excellent. I was just listening to everything you were saying, and that was just that was just amazing. It was great.
Yeah, yours. I loved your presentation as well, and also Mr. Cooper or Brooks.
Yes, ma'am.
Which one? Yeah, Mr. Brooks. I liked his as well, and yours too, Mr. Cooper. You're Cooper, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. And you know, so much to say though, like, you know, as far as women, and like I said, we can't say it all in one segment because there's so much to say. And so a lot of things I wanted to hit on didn't get a chance to, but you know, hopefully that will make a difference in some women's lives that heard it tonight. Because as women, we definitely have to embrace each other. And one of the things I have wanted to mention, you know, how during the slavery days, how women became so divided, and that division came from how they treated us. You know, how they put the lighter women in the house and had the darker women out on the field, and you know, and all of that stuff, and that caused a division amongst our women, and which is so sad today, because we can still see that same division amongst women today. And you know, I look at my complexion. Okay, sometimes I'm lighter than this, sometimes I'm darker than this, you know, depending on where I am in the country or around the world. And you know, we have such beauty amongst our people, that we're the only race that we have so many complexions. My God, we have the high yellow to the ones that look almost white, and then we have the very, very dark. So we have an array of colors that are all beautiful. And I mean, we don't have to look at like, I'm brown skin, so I don't look at a yellow woman that's, you know, a high yellow complexion and be like, oh man, she thinks she's something better than me. But women do that. And I've even had women in the past look at me and, you know, they call me yellow, and I'm like, I'm brown, but I was lighter.
I'm brown skin.
They call me light skin and told me, oh, well, yeah, you light skin, so I don't like you. We don't like light skinned people. And I'm like, well, what? I mean, what kind of sense did that make? You know, it's so ridiculous. We are all still Black people, no matter whether we're light, brown, dark, whatever, almond, caramel, chocolate, mocha, latte, whatever. We're all still Black people. And there's no need for us to envy the next Black woman when we need to embrace each other and come together. And because the women, we're the backbone. Okay, we're the backbone of the man. And if the women would take their rightful places in our race of people, then our race will become better. But the women have lost all of that down through the years. And it's so sad. And it's such division that we cannot come together because of jealousy. There's too much jealousy among women.
Division was definitely something that was taught into us. And it was taught so deeply embedded that it just continues to, show itself. That's why we see it today. And I think that last comment takes us right into this question. It says, do any of you believe we are turning a curve in reaching and staying engaged with the youth?
Oh, wow. Staying engaged with the youth. Huh. Well, that's a good question. Because today it's like a lot of people have really gotten away from the youth. People don't really care about what's going on because they think there's no hope for our young people. But the children are our future. And so there's always hope. But it's us to give them that hope. So it's going to take us as adults to give our young people that hope. And we definitely have to get in touch with the youth and meet them where they are, because we know that so many of them are lost because they don't have, some of them don't even have a home to live in. A lot of them are living on the streets, and a lot of people don't want to acknowledge that. But there's a lot of young people that live on the streets. And so they have so much to contend with today, with the Black on Black crime, them killing each other. And people look at them and say, oh, well, it's no use. It is use, because if we don't reach out to them and try to help them, we won't have a future, because the Blacks are dying. Black children are dying every day in this country.
Yeah. Uh-oh. We got going silent.
Yes.
There you go.
And so we have to stop being silent about it and start having programs. So I definitely commend you, Mr. Cooper, for what you're doing with the young people. And it needs to be more of you out there. And, before I start doing wrongful convictions and all that stuff, my whole concentration used to be on the youth. That's all I did all my life, is have so many different programs for young people. And we're still doing that now. And we're trying to now here in Philadelphia, we're trying to build a free music school for children. Pennsylvania Historical Exoneree Vincent Moto, he does music. He plays all the different instruments. And then we have a lot of other people that want to come on board to offer a safe haven, to give the young people something productive to do, and a skill, something that they can be proud of, and, other programs and resources and classes. And then we're trying to bridge the generational gap, because as the question said, can we meet the children where they are? Can we get in touch with them? And it takes a generation gap to close, because the older people, they're not really in touch with the young people today because of all of the things that the young people are doing today. So it's going to take someone to bring them all together so we can sit and talk, see what the children want. Why are they the way they are? No one takes that time, but a few people will take the time out to figure out why they're doing what they're doing. And, it stems from, I want to say it, from the rap music they listen to is a big problem amongst the young kids today, because they look at those rappers as their role models, and all they're rapping about is drugs, sex, and violence. And that's the lifestyle that they're living. So we have to bring a different narrative to them by advocating for some clean music, some music that's positive, that's going to encourage them and motivate them to become great, because there's greatness in each and every one of our Black children. There's intelligence within them. We were born to be intelligent. We were born to be great, but it takes someone to bring that out of them.
Yeah. When I first got into out into a community was my first stop as well, especially with the youth. When I retired from the military and I moved back to my hometown or my home city, I was forced to look at everything or how it was. And it was a big contrast from when I was growing up there to the way it was now. And I created this program this initiative called A Kid's Way Out, because I was like, these children need a way out of what's going on with them. They need to see something different than their hood, different than what might be happening in their household. And we had used this thing called ABCD, which is Asset-Based Community Development. And all that means is you go into a community and you see what they have, and you find out what they like, and you make it all work together. And it was very effective, because if you're going into a community and say, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, this ain't right, they looking like, well, who is this? And they pushing that gap between you even bigger. So, our youth is definitely a place that we have to tap into. From age 0 to 9 is when they're most impressionable, and we can shape their inner core personality. So, and like you said, doctor, it has to be a bridge in that gap. I'm 40 years old, and I feel like from age about 45 to 32, we have to do a lot of this work, because we can still kind of relate to the youth. And a lot of these youth that's having these things go on with them are our offsprings, or our little sisters, our little brothers, our cousins and things like that. So, concentrating on our youth is always important. Mr. Cooper, I definitely want to commend you. You know what I'm saying? It's always awesome to see Black men giving back, especially investing in our young men, because we need them. Our daughters are going to need them, and their daughters, and so forth. So, it's awesome. All the work that we're doing collectively, I think, is a beautiful thing.
Yes.
It says, someone in the comments says, we need to protest a lot of the music nowadays. When I first came out, I have this other platform called Hip Hop Humanism. And I used to always showcase positive hip hop. I know how powerful hip hop is. Hip hop is everywhere. It's all over the nation, all over the country. Hip hop influences the way the way they walk, the way they talk, the way they bob their head, where they want to go, the things that they want to do. So I used to be very hard on artists that weren't more conscious of that. But then I had to remember also that the home is where the heart is. The home is where it starts. I grew up on Little Kim and Foxy Brown and all of these things, but I also had my grandmother, my mother, my grandfather, my uncle saying, I don't care what Little Kim said in her song, this is what you're gonna do. You know what I mean? So I think that we have to prepare our children for this music they might hear, and for life, for when we're not around. So they can be prepared when someone might offer them some drugs. They heard about it in a song. Do they think it's just cool, or have we talked to our children to let them know what these drugs are, how they can affect you, how they can mess you up, how you want to, don't want to bother with that. So I think it's important that we're also active when it comes to our children and music.
Yes. Definitely.
Yeah, very true. Very true. See, what I'm understanding and seeing from being in Chicago is I was listening to you all in your thing, but what has happened is like murdering and drug use, it has been made cool now. And so now you have an industry of rap that's giving these young guys millions and millions of dollars to keep doing it. And so that narrative is going to be kind of hard to break, because here you go saying like, I'm just like the I can't think of her name right now, but well, she was just saying like, I come from that generation, Tupac, Biggie, and so like keep your head up, and that was getting played on the radio. Now, if you go try to rap some positive stuff, you might not get that play no more. Because now you have the Lil Durk and you have the NBA young boys. Like they have a beef right now that this industry keep pumping millions and millions of dollars into to keep it going, because that's what. And so now you see, if you got Durk and you got young boy, we making all this money. That's what I want.
Right.
That's what I want. And so you telling me it's wrong, but the world is telling me this is okay. This is okay. It's okay, because if I do talk about it, look what's happening. Now I'm going to get diamond chains. Now I'm going to get all the girls. Now I'm going to get this. I'm going to get this. So I could be a parent telling you, yeah, that is wrong for you saying that, but this industry in these streets is telling me it's okay. So who I'm going to listen to?
Exactly. That's so true. And then, you know, another thing is that we have to look at who's running the music industry. Okay. It's not us.
It's
Okay. It's
not.
the Jewish people are running the music industry, just like the financial institutions. They're running that as well. And
Very true.
when we look at this, the reason why they're allowing that type of music to come into our communities for our children to hear is because they know that if they're hearing that type of music, it's going to keep them where they are. It's going to make them worse. It's not going to improve their behaviors. It's just going to make them worse and worse. And so that's why it's going to be hard to get rid of that. And what we have to do as a people, we have to start building our wealth together so that we can own a music industry, have not a record label, but actually take over the music industry and make it our music industry. We will have music that will be good for our children to listen to, educational music, music talking about Black history, you know, all kinds of music that we can rap about and sing about that will motivate our kids and not like bring them down and up. It's just so
Once
sad.
upon a time, that's what they rapped about. They rapped about
exactly.
Yes, it's different now. It's different. So, like in Chicago, you can go on YouTube and you can go just see, like you can type in like Chicago. They got this actually a website that say Chicago Legends, but they showing you all the guys and all the murders that they've done. But he's considered a legend.
Disgusting.
He's considered a legend. So now they got this thing we call it's the score. It's the score. So now I was and I learned this at Cook County Jail. And I was like, what is this? It was like, man, so if you got this one gang on this left side, you got the one on the right side. We might say we got 28, you got 14. That means we killed 28, y'all got 14, we leading the score.
Horrible.
Wow. So now you got 42 bodies, and that's what I was telling them. Nobody won.
Right.
That's 42 people actually dead. But just like the great doctor was saying, that they're going to keep pumping this narrative out there because it brings millions and millions of dollars in.
Yeah.
But they don't look at the lives that's being lost, because I'm trying to prove that I'm a killer too, and I'm rapping about it. I'm trying to prove so I can get my bag and get my money. And so I'm trying to put my crew on and my guys on. So I'm going to go out here and do what I got to do, and I'm going to rap about it. So now these kids out, they kill somebody and go rap about it. And then now they saying, oh, he ain't got no bodies. That's what they say out here. He ain't got no bodies. This one ain't got no bodies. And so now I go out here and make a name for myself. Now I'm getting more followers on the internet. Now the music is getting out even more. Now the record labels are saying, yeah, what he rapping is real. Let's sign him.
All right. We have a question. We have a few questions, so let's get into them. The first one, from each aspect, mothers, fathers, and children, how do you feel that we can break the generational curses?
Wow. That's a good one there. Yeah. To break the generational curses. You know, when I think about generational curses being broken, to me, it's a spiritual thing to actually break generational curses. That's spiritual. And so that comes with deliverance and, you know, someone determined that, hey, I'm going to be the curse breaker. And in every family, we have someone that is a curse breaker because they stopped doing the norm that's been passed down from tradition, family to family to family, you know, or generation to generation to generation. You know, so we have curse breakers. And so it's going to take a lot of prayer to break the generational curses that are within our Black communities. There's a lot of them. So we're going to have to pray. We're going to have to fast and really get spiritual, because we cannot break generational curses being in the flesh, because the flesh will always do the wrong thing and say the wrong things. So to break generational curses is a spiritual thing. It's going to take love. It's going to take understanding. It's going to take patience. But it can be done. But we're going to have to do it collectively. And if we can break generational curses within families and teach families how to do that, that's a place to start. And we all can come together. We can pray and we can fast together and like give direction and just that loving spirit, because God is God of love. And, you know, he's patient, but we tend to lose patience, but we cannot. So we have to be patient because it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight. It's a process because we're dealing with all types of spirits that are not of God, you know? So,
I think it's important for us to also get to the root of our trauma and our triggers and work on them and fix them. That helps a lot too, you know. Fixing our mess can help us from putting the mess onto our child, you know, learning why things happen and breaking them in yourself, I think is very, very important. And trauma from childhood, you know, it can be really deep. I'm going to tell you something about myself. Just a few years ago, I just stopped having panic attacks when I would lose things. I would lose things and I would panic so bad and I was frightened in my heart beating so fast. And I had to correlate it back to when I was younger, when I lost things. What would happen when I lose these things is I would get physically abused, right? So that so many years later, up until my 30s, I was still having that trigger and that feeling, and I didn't know why until I sat down and I thought about it. And once I figured out where it was coming from, it was easy to conquer it, or it was easier to conquer it. I knew where it came from. So that's why I have to say again, getting to the bottom of your triggers can help you so much with yourself and the youth and the offspring. We got another question here. This one is for Fred. It says, with Chicago having so many homicides, can you please tell us how that city is fighting this?
Wow. Chicago, can you please tell us how the city is? That's a great question. That is a great question. That's so great of a question till I can't even tell you how they fighting it. That's just so great. But I can just tell you what I do. And that's why I continue to try to pump into my gas positivity. And just that's why even talking about, like you saying, how many what should with Chicago have so many houses, please tell us how the city is fighting this. To be honest, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't even think they fighting it. We got 8 out of every 10 murders that happen in Chicago don't even get solved.
Oh wow.
And so I'll be honest, like just myself, I like even with my own story, I got shot 10 times by 2 guys I grew up with stood over me and shot me. And so nothing happened. Like nothing happened. And to be honest with you, a lot of us and I'm gonna be honest with all of you on this panel, like I knew who shot me, but by me being a part of their life, I didn't even tell it.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
And so a lot of people out here don't tell it because we are part of that life. We was a part of that life. So if a person kills somebody, it could kill your brother in front of you. You're still not gonna say nothing.
Wow.
Wow. That's really deep. That's deep.
Yeah, because like I tell you, I'm sitting here tonight, y'all. And when I went to the hospital, I got shot right in the back of right 2 inches away from my brain. The doctor told me if you 2 more inches, you would have died instantly. So the bullet hit me here and went in my mouth, and it's gonna be here forever. And so, and I know who did this. I know who did it, and still didn't say a word because I was a part of that life.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these guys are a part of that life. We're not gonna say nothing. So it is hard for it to get solved when you have no cooperation. We're not gonna say nothing.
Yeah. And that's the biggest problem in these inner cities. And I just want to say to you, Mr. Cooper, God bless you. You are blessed to still be here.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
He has you here for a reason, definitely, to reach these young people. And, you know, in Philadelphia, there's a lot of gun violence every single day. Kids are being shot, kids are being killed. And I had just got a notification on Facebook and from one of my Facebook friends who had made a post saying that, like, here, Governor Wolf is the governor here in Pennsylvania, and then we have Mayor Kinney as the mayor. The mayor, he's not doing anything about gun violence at all. And so Governor Wolf told a man that advocates all the time, and he goes on hunger strikes, and he walks across the country advocating, trying to stop gun violence and wanting these mayors and the governors to listen. But so Governor Wolf sent him a message saying that, oh, he's doing everything he can to stop the gun violence. No, he's not. Okay, the state's not doing anything, the city's not doing anything, right. But the federal government, they have lots of money for gun violence, anti-gun violence prevention. They have millions and billions of dollars that they've funneled into these inner cities, and they've given this money to different organizations, and these organizations aren't doing a darn thing. Okay, but I guess using the money for themselves, because there's nothing being done when you have these boots on the ground organizations that are actually out here doing a whole lot of work, but yet they're not getting any funding. And, you know, a lot of these organizations that don't get the funding, they're not 501c3, but they're out there doing the work because they want to make a difference in these communities. And these are the organizations they need to be funding, because people are using the money from their own pockets. You know, to put programs together for our young people. And that's love. And that's action. And those are the organizations that these governments need to fund, because the mayors and the governors, city council, all the people, they're not doing a doggone thing, but trying to take pictures and having marches for peace, not guns, and all this stuff. And what good is that? It's not doing anything. You know, so it's so sad. We have to save our children.
Yes. We all we got, we all we need. Miss Mays, do you have some questions? I don't want to leave you out. I know you might have had you some.
You know, I don't really have any questions. I'm just excited about the dialogue. I'm grateful that everyone is able to be transparent about where we are. And I think that that's like the beginning of everything. When we realize that we do have a flawed system, we do have, as far as the culture in itself, the African American community, we've always had that inability to truly communicate effectively. And so being able to gather tools from so many different entities and so many different people that are passionate right now, I'm just in total awe. You know, I'm totally going to be in prayer over the direction in which God wants me to go right now. As I shared with Mr. Pons, you know, you run into a situation when you get into this realm where there's rules, there's guidelines, there's policies, there's triggers. But for the most part, you want to get into the room where you can sit down and communicate, so that you can sit down and come up with the effective plan to be able to move things forward in the right way. And sometimes that requires us to change laws. Sometimes that requires us to vote people out of office. But whatever it is, the people such as, you know, who's being represented here tonight, Mr. Cooper, Mr. Brooks, and of course, Dr. Jonesia, this is the culture of where we've got to go to break the generational patterns. Pray to break those generational curses, but in order to break the generational patterns, we've got to do something different. That may be reading a book, that may be taking a class, that may be getting a mentor, that may be joining a spiritual entity. But what is going to be required first and foremost is the admission of guilt. We have all turned our heads. We have all in some shape, form, or fashion not done the things that we could have done. But we get to right now start on a different path where we can, instead of going forth in a way that have to be angry or frustrated. We have to figure out how to get in these rooms to be able to tear down the walls.
Yes.
We have to make those communications, because this is something that they have placed as an addendum to our Constitution. This is what's so crazy about the culture of what we're dealing with right now. Somewhere they've snuck in an addendum to the Constitution and made us accept it. So we've all just collectively have to reach one to teach one, and just I'm grateful for this level of platform.
Yes, it was absolutely amazing, and that's why that's why like I said, I had fell in love with restorative justice, just seeing how I went in this Cook County jail and implemented these practices, and just seeing how the guys responded to it. And we just fellowship. I'm not here to judge. Like I say, like I always tell them that, hey, talk about what you. And these guys were, man, they would share their tears. They would talk about how I've never had somebody that sit and just listen to me.
Right.
I've been judged all my life. I've been judged all my life. All my life. And I was even just with this restorative court, I'm even, I'm just talking to them, and they always think, oh, he think he know everything. I said, I never thought I know everything, but I said, I never thought that. And, but I always tell them I do know a man who do know everything. I always tell them that.
Yeah.
But the goal is to always to try to help, for me to save a life.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I first got into the court and I seen somebody, they was like, well, you call another case, send it back. And I was like, wait a minute, whoa. This is a restorative justice. What are we doing here? Well, we got a rule to say if they call another case, it gets sent back. I said, that's not restorative. So, me going up against a judge is like, well, this is the rules. And I'm like, well, if we saying restorative justice community court, we need to sit and talk about this. Because that's what's been happening for a long time. You guys have made the rules. And now we send a community court, which you brought into my community. It says restorative justice community court. As a community, we should be coming up with some of this stuff too. Because if it's just conviction, you get thrown out, you make a mistake. Everybody on this panel has made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Everybody on here. And so that's why I love when I go into the county and do the restorative justice and the financial literacy, what we just said. And I was telling the guys, we got to stop this generational curse, and we got to start generational blessings.
That's it.
Right.
We got to start this. And so, and I was just telling them, I said, we got to start. I see, how people, we all, like a lot of us, we're spending money on our fashion. I was telling the guys, y'all spend all this money on this fashion in here. And y'all done that. But how many of y'all got insurance on your kids and on yourself?
Right.
And that's one of the ways that the other side come up, and we haven't come up, because I've even I break it down to them. I said, I'm going to be a blessing to my daughter, because one, I made sure we have insurance. I made sure I save money for her. So in case something does happen to me, she will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I want her to set that up. The same thing for when she have kids. I'm going to make sure that happens.
Right.
So I'm stopping all this. Like, I had to stop, even with I had to tell my own mother, Mom, you steady going to the currency exchange, cash and checks. That's over with.
Yeah.
Because she's so stuck on that old stuff. And I'm like, Mom, that's over with. Come on over here. Let me show you how to get a bank account. And people don't see the little money that we give away when we cash a check. Oh, it's only $5-6. But how much money did our community just give away?
Yeah.
That's millions and millions or hundreds of millions of dollars we just gave away just by cashing our check at their currency exchange.
Yeah.
And so when I do this financial literacy, I always tell the guys, the main goal is to see every dime you worked for. Every dime. Because they're going to make sure they see every dime.
Oh, they're gonna get that money.
Mm-hmm.
Every dime. We overdraft 1 penny, they're gonna be calling you 30 times, sending you 30 letters.
And taking $25, $25 to $35 for that 1 penny.
Yeah.
So I'm not telling them, I said, we got to start making sure, and then we got to make sure our money stays with us. We got to start
That's
spending
right.
with each other. And so
Yep.
even when my daughter started her t-shirt line, her friends would say, well, you can give it to me for this. And I had to explain to her, this is how business work. We could never go in Walmart and say, well, give me this for this.
Right.
It doesn't work like this. You have to
That's
stick to
right.
your business. And so
Yes.
that's why I was, even with some of the younger guys in our group, they said, well, Fred, how do you do this? And I said, you got to make sure you get your domain. Make sure you get, when you on social media, y'all, because all y'all get on social media every day. I'm talking to this group. They'll be on there every day. So why not run your ads and stuff on there and start getting your stuff out even more and more and more? That's how we build our business, and we start building each other. And so I was telling them, we talking about insurance today, and I was saying it's sad in our neighborhoods that we spend more money on our phone insurance than our life insurance.
That's true. That's true.
Yes.
That don't even make sense.
Mm-mm.
And so
No,
guys are
it
sitting there
does
like, no.
not.
And I said, yeah, we got more people insuring their iPhone than their life.
Mm-mm-mm. That's sad.
That's true.
Yep, sad but true.
Sad but true. And I said, we ain't broke. We spend, because our neighborhoods, we spend the most money, but got the
That's
worst
right.
credit.
Right.
We spend the most money, but got the worst credit.
Poorest.
Yeah.
And the ones that are living in poverty. You know, it is so sad, but we spend our money on the wrong things, definitely the wrong things.
Yeah.
And that's sad. So yeah, that's good that you're doing that with the young people there, Mr. Brooks, and that needs to be done around the country where, you know, people are teaching these young people not to spend foolishly, to save, to invest.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, because that's what we have to do. But the way people spend the day is crazy. Like I have an Android. I would not buy an iPhone. I refuse. And you got some people that'll buy the newest one every time another one come out. They'll run with it, and then they get it. You know, you're paying for it like on a monthly basis. You know, so and that's ridiculous. $1,000 for a phone? Come on, really? When it does the same thing my Android does, really? And my Android got more states.
But they have shown our youth. They showed our youth, doctor. They showed the youth that you can't have an Android. You have to have it.
Have an iPhone.
You have to. When I went to the high schools, I was the only one with an Android, and I'm looking. And I asked the question. I said, do everybody in here got an iPhone? Yeah, man. Yeah, you got to have an iPhone, bro. You got to have it. I said, so I'm the only one in the class. And that was a discussion of the day. I said, we're going to talk about phone. Why do y'all have to have it? Oh, man, you have to have FaceTime. I said, well, I got an app where I can FaceTime people and see. No. It's not the same.
Right. They don't even know why. Yeah.
No.
My daughter sat and said, Dad, I have to have this phone, because when I gave her the Android, when she got in trouble, she wouldn't even pull it out.
Oh, wow.
Because society has made it that you have to have an iPhone. She would not pull a phone out. And I thought it was just my daughter. So I asked other parents. No, I had to. I just had to. She would never pull the phone out. She would just always try to sneak text me. And it's our this generation, $5,000 and $6,000 phones.
Right.
And we would tell you, you ain't got the money, you can pay about a month.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
That's so sad. That's ridiculous. And then they're giving these iPhones to like little kids too. Like kids that's not even in school yet. I saw a 3-year-old with an iPhone. And I'm like,
and know how to work it.
Like, oh no, that's his phone. Why you give a 3-year-old an iPhone? Oh, but they like to play the games on there. So I got him his own iPhone so he won't be on my phone. That's ridiculous. That's retarded. And then they're giving 5, 6, 7-year-olds iPhones. For what? It's just ridiculous. And these are the things that parents have to realize and start teaching their kids. Hey, look, you don't have to have an iPhone. The Android is just as good. You don't have to have that. You don't have to have those $500 Jordans. No. We spend our money foolishly buying the name brand everything. And just for a name brand and just to say, oh, wow, this costs all that money. So now you're cool. And see, and then the white people, they look at us like fools because guess what? They're not going around buying those expensive sneakers
Very
and
true,
all that.
Doctor.
Invest it another way.
So-
And
Yeah.
if we notice the ones that are wealthy, hey, they wear the same clothes. They may wear
Yes,
the
ma'am.
same thing
Yeah.
for a whole
So-
week and change the shirt. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
The same sneakers for a whole year. But we gotta have the latest.
We gotta
everything.
have Michael Jordan. So that's one of the things that I teach in a financial literacy class. So I even showed them how, even with my daughter's business, because you know the work that I do, I tie her clothing line to it, and so it makes some she made a nice amount of money. And so I said, listen, I put it all in her account. I said, listen, because this is how you're going to do it. So when the shoes did come out, I said, well, she said, oh, Dad, you gonna give me the Jordans? I said, oh yeah, go buy it. You got the money. Now what happened? She didn't want to spend that money.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. It's different when it's your money. Dan.
Exactly.
Oh, yes.
So I said, go back. So what I was showing her is the importance of money. But now it's your money.
Right.
You ain't so quick to
Right.
spend. Oh, I don't need them. I'm okay.
Yeah.
Why the attitude changed now? Because we don't really understand. And that's what I was showing our neighborhoods. We got to understand the importance of money.
Yeah.
Like we got guys out here. I was with my nephew and I just watched him. We went to the Gucci store. He spent $700 on a belt.
Oh, wow.
On a belt.
Yeah,
A
that's
belt.
sad. Yep.
And I said, look at this. And I just said, look at our neighborhood. But we spend all this to look good, but then you go out here, it's trash everywhere. And the
Yes,
neighborhood look a
Lord.
hot mess. But you
Yeah.
look good.
Right.
Yep. And in the projects, riding around in a Mercedes or a Beamer or whatever, a Range Rover or whatever the best car is today, and they in the projects or don't have a house at all, no place to live. But they got a nice car.
Right.
And so that's why I like today's lesson, we was talking about the insurance, and I was just telling each person in there, these are the essential things that they don't show on. You don't see a lot of commercials on. We'll see a million commercials. You'll see Michael Jordan when he drop a shoe, it's gonna be all over Facebook, all over. He drop a shoe every Saturday, and I was just comparing it to what we do out here. So you drop this Michael Jordan shoe on a Saturday. Now they saying, hey, it's only so many, so you got to enter the raffle to spend the money. Everybody not gonna get the shoe. Now you got to have a raffle ticket to go buy the shoe. So I'm saying, so this is my daughter. So I'm talking to her. So I'm saying, wait a minute. We got to enter a raffle to spend our money.
Oh my gosh.
To spend $250 on a pair of shoes. Then we got to be there at 8 o'clock because the line is long as ever.
Go be around the building.
Yeah.
That's something else.
And because I was explaining to her, I said, these are not no new shoes. She said, yes, they are. I said, no, they're not. He brings the same shoe out for each generation.
Right.
Because when I seen the shoe, I said, I had these when I was a kid. Well, no, this is new. I said, no, it's not. He just brought the same shoe back out again.
Wow.
Yeah.
But and charge way more money, and so they so addicted to it, they gotta have it. And so that's what I was telling the group. I said, but how many of them told y'all gotta have insurance on your kids?
Right.
You gotta have insurance on yourself. And that's how we can start building that generational blessing and start putting that curse. Because I even explained my situation. I said my father died and left me not a dime, but he left me a bill because I had to bury him. And I said my grandmother actually did the same. I had to bury her too. Now I said, now with my daughter, in case something happens to me, I got a policy that's, I got a 6-figure policy that if I do, hey, she is left off, she's okay. That's a great start in life to start off with 6 figures. I didn't have that. And so now I'm trying to show her that, hey, instead of buying those shoes that I probably would have bought, let me go get a policy for you.
Yeah, let's do something else.
Let's start building a college fund right now.
That's right.
Age, at the age of 5, she was 5 years old.
Yes.
Let's see what this money be in 10 years. Now she sees it.
Right.
Yes.
That's definitely helps.
Yes. That's awesome. Yes.
It helps with the process.
And that's the way that we need to be. Every parent needs to do that.
But it's
Ladies
got to
Wow.
be
and
taught.
gentlemen,
It's got to
ladies
be
and
Yep.
taught.
gentlemen, we are running
But
up on the 2 hour mark.
yes,
Okay, so I want to
yes,
give
ma'am.
I want to give y'all both a chance to take, just 1 to 2 minutes to leave us with some gems, so we can give it out to the people and then go ahead and bring this to a close. Ladies first.
Okay. All right. Everybody that are tuned in again, Black is beautiful. Do not allow anyone to make you think any differently. Black is beautiful. I don't care what your complexion is. You're beautiful. Whether you're the lightest and brightest or the darkest of the dark, you're still beautiful.
Yes.
Beauty comes from within, and our skin is where we are in our skin, and it's all beautiful. And we definitely need to come together as a people because we are queens. We're kings, and our children are our future. So mothers and fathers out there, we all need to come together, even if you're not in the same household as your child. Guess what? You can co-parent. And women, I want to leave you with this. Stop neglecting your children by depriving them of a relationship with their fathers. Because too many of you talk about deadbeat dads. And guess what? There are some out there. But you women, there's so many of you out there that are so bitter because the man left and he's with someone else. It's time for you to build a bridge and get over it and move on and allow that man to be a part of his children's lives, because the children need their father. Whether it's a boy or a girl, that child needs his father or her father. So stop being selfish and stop being bitter and start embracing yourself and loving yourself with self-love, because just as he found someone else, you can too. So get over it, women. Get over it and live your life and raise your children to love both parents and not to hate the father.
Beautiful advice. Thank you, Doctor. All right, Brother Cooper, it's on you.
I just want to say, first off, thank you all for having me on your platform. It was truly amazing these past 2 hours. And I want to also say, hey, let's continue to build our communities up. And how do we do that? We do that, hey, like I say, restorative justice, just sitting around with each other in fellowship, just talking about everything, not judging. And restorative justice is just not, it's for celebrations, it's for great things, just sitting around, let's fellowship, let's talk about, even if it's an issue with each other, let's talk about that issue. Why do I feel this way? Why do you feel this way? How do we come to an agreement and say, hey, we might not even like each other, but guess what? We're going to respect each other. And also with the financial literacy piece, let's teach our children about insurance. Let's teach them how to save. Let's teach them how to open their own bank account. Let's teach them about credit. Let's teach them the importance of every dollar they earn out here. And let's continue to save. And with our fatherhood, let's continue to, hey, let the past go and build for this future. Because, hey, I can say, hey, even with myself, I had to let things go with my own daughter's mother. Me and her like oil and water, but I had to let it go for the sake of our child. And I said, hey, you might not like me, I might not like you, but both of us have something that we love, and let's focus in on that. And so let's continue to build, and let's continue to just help each other as much as possible.
Amazing. We definitely appreciate y'all both for being here. We also appreciate Mr. George that he has some technical difficulties. We definitely appreciate you all for coming on here tonight and just, showing love to us and to our people and especially to our youth. I'll definitely be reaching out to both of you. We got some more conversations to have. I'm sure Miss Mays feels the way.
Definitely.
Okay.
You guys be blessed.
You doing all right?